A new era at Doncaster Rovers got underway with 3 points on Tuesday night, and now Plymouth Argyle provide Andy Butler with his latest test as Rovers boss. Butler's side are looking to avenge a 2-1 defeat at home park earlier in the season, while also cementing their position in the top 6. It's Rovers against Plymouth Argyle from 3 p.m. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Keepmoat Stadium. Thank you for joining us for our pre-match build-up to the game against Plymouth Argyle in Sky Bet League One. Joining me on the show, editor of the Doncaster Free Press, Liam Hoden, and host of the 18 Dapper YouTube channel, Dan Pearson. Liam, first of all, congratulations on the new role. Just tell us a little bit about how you see that developing under your stewardship.
Well, I think plenty of people will be aware that the Free Press has been produced outside of Doncaster for the last few years and by reporters that sort of concentrating on a massive patch rather than just Doncaster. So first and foremost, it's about bringing the Free Press back to Doncaster. I've got a great team of people who either live in the town or have worked in the town for years and a tremendous amount of experience. And it's all about sort of re-establishing it as a Doncaster title for Doncaster people, written by Doncaster people as well. I think that's going to be a big thing, and sport's going to play a massive part of that. Obviously, Rovers at the centre of it.
How much will that help you being in the heart of things happening with Rovers for the past few years or so?
I think it'll be great. You know, there's an awful lot goes on in this club, not just on the football pitch, but with its work in the community as well. And I've seen firsthand and met people as well through that. So it's going to be huge.
We saw the manager get off to a winning start on Tuesday night. How nice would it be for your new role to get off to a winning start with Rovers getting 3 points this afternoon?
It'd be superb, building that optimism for what can come this season. I think everybody had a fresh injection of optimism on Tuesday night with that result, so hopefully that can continue today.
Dan, how pleasing was it on Tuesday to see the new manager bring a bit of a fresh impetus into the team?
Yeah, I think great performance. We've seen it throughout the season, performances like that, but I think the seamless transition from Darren Moore into Andy Butler has been part of the squad. He knows the players, he knows the staff, he knows the club, knows the ethos, he knows Club Doncaster, and I think it's just been seamless. And I kind of saw a bit of Grant McCann's style of play, that freedom that the players had, but also kind of linked with what we had with Darren Moore as well. So defensive solidity, but that freedom to play, so very good to watch.
A chance to make amends against Plymouth this afternoon, Liam. The reverse fixture at their place, probably at a period where Rovers were doing a lot of travelling. I think Wimbledon and Portsmouth were around that stage as well, and it showed, didn't it, particularly in the first half that night? Definitely.
I think we all had horrendous journeys down to Plymouth that day. I know the Rovers squad did. But yeah, that was a disappointing one. You could sort of not make excuses for it, but justify it with the travel problems and things like that. They just never really got going, and I think with the high energy that Plymouth have got and they will work the socks off, you're always in trouble if you can't match that. We saw Portsmouth play with a back three on Tuesday night. Plymouth seem to have that in their locker all season long, really, but that seems to suit the Rovers attacking players, particularly the likes of Josh Sims, who can play in those little pockets between wing back and wide centre halves. Yeah, we saw the wide players coming on the inside and making such a big impact the other night, forcing Portsmouth to change it at half time and go back to a back four. So if we can continue what we're doing in that first half on Tuesday night, it's going to be great for Rovers today. Yeah, we saw Andy Butler get his reign off to a winning start on Tuesday night, and here are the highlights from that victory over Portsmouth.
Those are the highlights from Tuesday night's win then. You can still get your match pass for today's game for just £10. All the details available on the club website. Students from Doncaster School for the Deaf watched the game against Portsmouth on iFollow on Tuesday night. And here's what they made of it.
So last night, me and Ralph watched a football match against Doncaster Rovers and Portsmouth. What was the score? It was 2-1 to Doncaster Rovers. What happened? Was there any tackles? Was there any disappointments? What happened? So John Taylor was tackled and he had to get sent off because his leg was injured. Was the game exciting? Was it boring? Was it sad? No, it was really, really good to watch. I'd quite like to go to the stadium. Who scored? So Reece James scored the first goal, and then the second goal was scored by the player who substituted John Taylor. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to go to the stadium to watch a real live game. Thank you very much. Bye.
Ralph and Plowman impressed with the performance and result on Tuesday then, Liam, and it was, I think you said in a piece, didn't you, it was more Grant McCann style than Darren Moore if you were comparing where the team were at under Andy Butler.
Sorry, I think as Dan touched on earlier, I think it was that there were elements of both, but the intensity was certainly more towards the Grant McCann end of the scale for me, and I think that was really impressive. Obviously, same formation, same determination to keep the ball and you know, but the intent to get forward quicker and not really waste possession, not dwell in possession, that was so impressive, and it really unsettled Portsmouth, particularly in that first half, and you would love to see more of that going forward.
I think the new manager has said, Dan, hasn't he, it's all well and good having the ball, but you have to play with a purpose as well and make sure that you're difficult to play against with and without it.
Yeah, Liam just touched on it about moving the ball a bit quicker, and I think especially throughout February under Darren Moore, I think the frustrations were there that we weren't quick enough moving the ball through the thirds, and we saw a total different team on Tuesday night in terms of moving the ball quickly, and Portsmouth just couldn't deal with it.
Getting the early goal as well, did you feel that it just settled everybody down? I think we saw in the opening 20-25 seconds, it looked like a bit of anxiety within the ranks. Portsmouth almost went a goal up, and if that does go in, all of a sudden it's a different game completely, isn't it?
Totally different story if that had gone in. Was it Ronan Curtis in the centre of the box turned and it could have gone in. I think Jones had it covered, to be honest. He seemed a lot calmer than everybody else. But yeah, if that had gone in, it could have been a very different story, and like you say, we then get the goal and it settles us down a bit.
Of course, the big decision from Andy Butler was to put Lewis Jones in his first league start for Rovers, but he didn't really put a foot wrong. Really unfortunate not to get the clean sheet in the end. Of course, an old face coming back to deny him that in John Marquis, but all in all, didn't have a lot to do, but what he did it well. You
never really know what, especially with a position of a goalkeeper, when a young lad's thrust into it. Well, no, we have seen him before, but you thrust straight into it. There's going to be an awful lot of tension on you, given the manner of how you've come into the side and the decision that's been made there. And he looked as calm and composed as anyone else on the pitch. Very, very good. I think his time, he's been unfortunate, should I say, not to get that opportunity before, and he showed exactly why.
Yeah, Rovers fans this week or so have been voting for their goal of the month for February, and there could only really be one winner, James Coppinger's free kick against Hull City. Looking back on it, lads, it was sensational, wasn't it? The timing of the game as well. The season that Cops has had as well, we've touched on it before, frustrating for him not to get the game time he has, but to score a goal like that, I think everybody in the press box stood up and applauded, didn't they? Incredible.
Yeah, you can. If you watch the highlights back, you can hear the noise in the ground. There weren't many people in the ground that day, but they made a tremendous amount of noise. No, as you said, we'd spoke to Cops just a couple of days before, and he were talking about those frustrations about it weren't really going for him this season. He weren't getting the opportunities. So add into the occasion itself what that day meant on its own. And to produce that in the last minute, and it's a quality free kick. It's not just any old goal in the 102nd minute. It's a quality free kick, and there were going to be no other winner for that vote. He
said it as soon as it left his foot. He knew, didn't he? You were in the press conference. It got a little bit emotional. Maybe the realisation that it could well be his last goal at the Keep Moat. Of course, he's got a fair few games to get another couple of under his belt, but it's times like that when you start to realise that it is starting to come to an end now.
Yeah, I think that really kind of hit home. that moment, sitting and listening to him after the game, and he did get a bit emotional because he seems to take a lot of things in his stride. Cops, you can fall into this pattern of thinking that he's got everything under control. You know what I mean? Emotionally, everything's under control. But moments like that, where you genuinely see how much it's all meant to him, and it continues to mean to him, and hopefully there's more to come in these next couple of months.
Dan, what was it like watching on from the living room as he steps up to take that free kick?
It's one of those, isn't it? It's come on for the last 10 minutes. We're chasing the game. It's written for him. We've seen the script before, and he produces, and he produced again. I think the whole street heard me celebrating when it went in. But yeah, fantastic. Just hope he does one more year.
We touched on Andy Butler's style earlier, didn't we? And he's been telling the press in the week that he wants a team that represents everything that Doncaster Rovers should be.
I want a team that represents Doncaster Rovers. For the fans and for myself, it's important that the players realise that they're playing for their positions now, and like I say, no one's guaranteed, so everyone has to be on the game. Otherwise, someone comes in and takes their position. Like I've said before, it's that mentality, a winning mentality, but at the same time a professional and a hard-working mentality. Speaking to the players, that's what the message is. All to play for. You've put yourself in a fantastic position with the games to go. Don't let opportunities pass you by, because you never know with the squad and the players whether you'll be involved in this again. Some people have been lucky to be involved in it more than once, and are using their experience to help the younger lads through. But at the same time, you've got to enjoy football. You've got to seize the opportunity if someone gives you it. Like I say, we're in a fantastic position, and don't let it slip, because you'll look back in your career once you've sat down and looked at it and think opportunity missed. And that's what I don't want this group of players to do, miss an opportunity which they deserve. Ryan Lowe's side always work hard. They're a hard-working side. Like I said, we went down there early season. It wasn't a great result for us, but we'll look at them and see where we can exploit them and make sure we do. As long as we keep doing the things we ask them to do, I've got no issues with the players. It's all about getting the performance, and the result follows. But I think that Plymouth are an excellent side, and it'll be a tough game. But at the same time, my focus is on this group of players and getting this group of players to perform at the levels I know, because if they do, then I've got full confidence in them.
Andy Butler making friends with other members of the media that he's maybe not spoken to before. Liam, you know exactly what to expect from him, and it must be a breath of fresh air to have him being so open and talk so candidly about Doncaster Rovers.
It's been brilliant. There's been so much that he's said over these last few days, either before the game, on Tuesday night, afterwards, and in preparation for this one as well. Very clear about what he wants, which is brilliant, and you do, and you know exactly what you're going to get from his Doncaster Rovers team if all goes well. So it's been really good.
He's admitted he's not had much time to think about anything else but games at the minute, but when that does eventually slow down, you guess that it'll be an immense feeling of pride in Andy Butler's mind in having this job.
So it should be. He's spoken about it a little bit, but so it should be. You know, his hometown club, he's been so associated with his club, so associated with his town, never ever left wherever his playing career took him, always lived here. And we know how deep the connection were, how excited he was to come back last August, September time. And yeah, he should feel a tremendous amount of pride. And if it goes as well as it did on Tuesday night over a lengthy period, he'll have a lot more to be proud about.
Dan, the majority of fans were happy with the appointment. Obviously, you're always going to get the odd couple who aren't too sure. But do you feel that Tuesday night's win put their mind at ease as well, showing that what Andy Butler's teams are all about?
If it didn't, it should have. I'm on the side of the fence of happy with the appointment for the continuity, and as I said earlier, he knows the club, he knows the players. I think at this stage of the season, to have that going into the last part of the season is paramount. So yeah, for me it's a good appointment. There's very little pressure for me on Andy Butler. If he gets us to the Championship, fantastic. If he doesn't, this is a turning point, and the finger will get pointed at Darren leaving, I think. But yeah, he's in a prime position to get the job next season. It's just got to get us there.
Every fan of every club wants managers and players to love the club, and it's probably going out of the game a bit these days. There aren't many players or managers who are at a club that they love or who they supported as a child. But for the fans, knowing that Andy Butler is Rovers through and through, does that make it easier to get behind him? There's not really any grey areas, is there?
Yeah, for me personally, it does make it easier to get behind him because you know that his goals and targets probably fall in line with what yours does as a fan. So there's no reason not to get behind him up to the end of the season for me.
And I know he mentioned after the game on Tuesday night, of course, there were players who missed out, who he took out the team, Ellery Balcombe, one of those, but he said, didn't he, his reaction was brilliant in the dressing room, and Lewis said as well, he really got behind him, did everything you would want a player, or he reacted exactly the type of way you want a player that's not in the team.
It's perfect. There's no guarantees that you're going to get that, a player that's come in and played and probably expected to play. You don't know what's going to happen when they're told that they're not going to be in the side. But I think that what we're really telling is, after the game, the other night, there were sort of a session for the players that had not been involved, the players that were on the bench, and even the ones that had come on a little bit, played a bit of a game out on here. The atmosphere, you know, it was superb. It was great to watch. Everybody were enjoying themselves. There were some that were staying out after that had finished and knocking a few balls about, you know, as we're getting past 10 o'clock at night. Really, really good to see, and it just kind of shows just what is in this squad in terms of the relationship that everybody has.
And he's made it clear as well, hasn't he, that it's a clean slate for everybody. Everybody's going to get a fair crack of the whip. And with so many games coming up, Saturday, Tuesday, even for the next few weeks, and we've obviously seen the Blackpool game now moved into the last week of the season, the likelihood is that there are going to be little knocks and niggles, as we saw with John Taylor going off on Tuesday night. Players are going to be drafted in even if they haven't played for a few games. Definitely.
There's no way that you can play at 100% all that time. You know, players aren't used to playing 3 games a week all the time. That's exactly what it is now. There's one blank midweek between now and the end of the season. It's going to be so demanding. Players aren't going to be able to play 90 minutes. You're going to need players to come on for half an hour, 20 minutes. So everybody is definitely going to be involved in this.
Joe Wright, a player who's regained his place in the heart of the Rovers' defence recently, and he says he's relishing being one of the more experienced heads in the dressing room these days.
Yeah. I think the initial day was a little bit strange. Obviously, I've known the gaffer for quite a number of years. Like you said, I've played with him. I'd consider him a good friend as well. So for him to almost switch roles and become the gaffer, I think he's done that seamlessly. And like I said, the first day was a little bit strange for myself, obviously knowing him for so long, but then such the job that he's doing so far, when he comes in, it just seems natural to him. So the transition to calling him gaffer, that's gone a lot more smooth than what I'd imagined. Obviously, with what I've been previously calling him for a number of years. So yeah, it was a little bit strange, but it's something that happens in football, and we've all adapted to it well. We've got good characters in the squad, so the older lads get along with the younger lads, and vice versa, really. I'd say the only strange thing was we did some possession boxes today, and I think it was Larac had to decide the two that started off in the middle, and he said the 2 oldest. So I was stood there thinking, I'm fine in this box. I'm never one of the oldest, and I looked round, and there I was. The second oldest, so that was a bit of a shock, but luckily he didn't realise it was me and thought it was Brad. So Brad went into, he was protesting but I just let him go in the middle and claimed that I was younger than him.
Does that feel like a watershed moment in your career right now?
It's a strange one, yeah, because like I said, when I've been here, I've always been one of the younger players, really. I'd probably say that might have changed a little bit. Last year we had a young squad as well, but just that moment of, like you said, I'm only in my mid-20s, so I still consider myself to be relatively young. And just that moment where I realised I was the second oldest in that box, I was a bit taken aback until Larac thought it was Brad, and then I was delighted again.
So Joe's got his place back in the team alongside Big Tom now. Of course, Cameron John waiting in the wings for any loss of form or injury, but Joe and Tom re-established that partnership that they held so strongly at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's good to see. They were superb in the first few months of the season, carrying on what they built together last season before it were curtailed. But they're a tremendous partnership. They've got incredible understanding. They're both so dedicated, so determined to keep that ball out of the net, and I think they're one of the most formidable partnerships in the division.
He mentioned in his interview that he was the second oldest in a little group of players. Larac picked the 2 oldest ones, and he didn't realise he was up there. Still only in his mid-20s, but he's been at Rovers for almost 5 years now, and he's really established himself as one of the core players in this team, hasn't he?
Yeah, all being well, next season he will be the longest serving player at the club. And yeah, it's been a few where we've spoke to them and they've realised that they are indeed one of the older players in the squad, that they are experienced. And Joe just seems to go from strength to strength. I've been so impressed with him. I think, again, individually he's one of the top defenders in the division, and he just seems to get better all the time. So a good run in the side now, we'll just see that development continue.
Dan, do you feel the way that Andy Butler wanted to attack but also defend it in terms of the aggression suits both Tom and Joe, because they're not willing to stand off players, they want to get into them as early as they can and also press high up the field as well?
Yeah, it gives them the opportunity to get to win that first ball, and then there's also that time to win that second ball if it doesn't quite work out. But on Joe Wright, he's shown his versatility this season as well, filling in at right back, and one of the best defenders in the league for me. But yeah, the style of play suits every single player within our squad. I think they're wanting to express themselves and put the sends on teams.
He said, didn't he, that although he didn't mind playing at right back a couple of times, that he felt it did take him a couple of games to get used to, but he's also got that bit of turn of pace, hasn't he, which for a big man you don't often see, but it does often help out players if they lose possession and it's over the top. He's got that bit of deceptiveness within him to chase down a striker. Yeah,
it's good as well when he's on the ball, finds himself under pressure. We saw it the other night. There were a moment where he just surges over halfway, took it past his player and surged up the pitch, which is great. That's exactly what they want in this side. The defenders being involved in getting forward, and that turn of pace is a valuable asset in that.
Finlay Barras is our virtual mascot for today's game against Plymouth. We hope you have a brilliant day, Finlay. Hopefully another 3 points from Andy Butler's men on the road to a playoff push. But lads, on to the game this afternoon. Plymouth, we know, are a bit inconsistent, aren't they? A mid-table team. They've beaten Lincoln and then got beat by Northampton. So you're not really sure what to expect from them, Dan.
Yeah, I think as Rovers fans we're hoping that the team that faced Northampton turn up today. The inconsistencies show. But I'd love to see a clean sheet, first one under Andy Butler. I'm going for a 2-0 win.
A couple of former Rovers players, of course, in there, Liam, in Niall Ennis and Conor Grant. Conor Grant's had his injury problems, but I think this season he started to sort of re-establish himself at this level, hasn't he? Of course, when he first joined Rovers, he was a really good player on loan from Everton.
Excellent. I think a lot of people at that time would have been very happy to see him stay. Really good midfielder, and it's good to see that he's finally established himself. As you say, he's had his issues in terms of injury that's kind of prevented that in the past, but there's a quality player in there.
Are you looking forward to seeing how Andy Butler adapts his style to facing different opposition? Because you do have to tinker with it at times, don't you? You can't just play the same way week in, week out, because you can get found out very quickly. And of course, different teams play in different ways.
That's it. And we've seen this season already that there are times when an opposition team will do something that you really struggle to kind of overcome. So looking for that, it were great. That were a great start the other night, and as you said, there's going to be different challenges along the way, and it'll be interesting to see how they do adapt to that.
How do you see it going this afternoon then?
I fancy another win. I think I might go 2-0 myself as well.
Liam, Dan, thanks for your company. Thank you at home for watching as well. Head over to iFollow Rovers now as Rovers take on Plymouth Argyle from 3 p.m.